Hey there, sister. Are you type A? Do you have a big career, a busy family, a lot of demands on you? This might be a perfect episode for you. I want to introduce you in this exclusive interview episode to one of my private clients, Mallory, who was 38 and had all of the fullness of life that we have at 38, but had been suffering for 2 years with really uncomfortable body aches and joint pain, inability to lose weight, a lot of fatigue, migraines, you name it. She was really struggling, and she had been asking for help and not getting that help, not getting any answers. And when we went through lab work with her and we went through a one-on-one protocol, so much has changed for her. And I'm really excited for you to hear from her directly on what worked, what moved that needle, what helped her finally be motivated to change, even when it might have seemed difficult in previous ways. And how she was able to get back to having consistent energy for her family and her career, dreaming big again, and a 15-pound weight loss. So welcome to this episode with Mallory. I think you're going to love it. She is just such a light and so wonderful and has so much to share that I hope you take away with today. Let's dive in.
What's up, sister? Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast, the show helping perimenopause and menopause women de-stress your body and decode what it's saying to you so you can own your own health, energy, and weight loss again. If you're new, I'm so happy you're here. I'm Bria. I'm your host, a recovering people pleaser and hustle addict turned functional and holistic hormone specialist. Let's lean in and learn what your body is saying to you.
Hey there, sisters. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. And if you've been listening for a while, you know that episodes like today are some of my most favorite to do, mostly because I get to sit down with someone I really enjoy and just have a great conversation and share success stories, share some hope. So today I get to introduce you to one of my amazing private clients, Mallory, who has had some awesome success on her journey and how she's feeling with her hormones, with her health. And we're going to walk you through it all. So you hear what worked and what didn't and how it went. And welcome, Mallory, to the show.
Thank you. So excited.
I know. I'm so excited that you're here. And we haven't talked in like a little bit. So it's really nice to have you come on and actually just connect and just catch up because, you work together for a while. I feel like we're friends.
Yeah, you were like my therapist for a while. So yes, I feel the void. Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that you're here. So I always like to start these episodes with a little bit about you to kind of set the stage, like, what you do, what your life is like, what your kind of responsibilities are, how old you are, if you're open to sharing it. So yeah, what can you share?
Yep. So I'm 38. We'll start there. I live in Ohio, so tend to not get a lot of sun this time of year, lots of snow. I'm an accountant by trade. So as we kind of mentioned when we were chatting before this, lots of January and February hours coming in from a work perspective. And then I have two littles, they're 5 and 8. So two girls that are 5 and 8. My husband is head of HR for the state that we live in. So we have a lot of personal and professional things going on at all times.
Very full life, isn't it? Very,
Yes.
very full life. Yeah.
Yes.
When you have, I think anyone listening who has a career, whether they have a partner or not, who has kids, recognizes like, that's it. Like there's not a lot of free space or wiggle room, is there?
There's not, no.
Which is how we get here, I think, in the first place, where we're not feeling the best because
100%. Yep.
cut out on maybe some of the most important areas we shouldn't, but all in the name of love.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
So when we started working together, how were you feeling in your body? Like when you were thinking, okay, maybe I need to make some changes. What was going on for you?
So I think at the point where you and I started chatting, I was already either 18 months or maybe even 2 years into just feeling really badly and kind of going all over from a medical perspective, trying to figure out why. My mom has lupus or something like lupus. So I did a lot of the stuff that rheumatologists suggest. And I went through all those testing and, they couldn't really find anything. So I was pretty far in debt, as you like to say, by the time I got to just, I used to be religious 5 days a week. At 5:30, 6 a.m., I would be at the gym with my trainer. I all of a sudden just like couldn't get out of bed, couldn't get there anymore. And it didn't matter how disciplined I was being. It was just like my body was like, you gotta slow down. Too much going on. Um, but yeah, so just not feeling like I had the energy, a lot of aches and pains, just really struggling with keeping up with life and my littles.
Yeah, just capacity overall, right?
Yep.
And I remember the aches and pains for you a lot for sure, just physically stiff and sore in the body.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot. And you said a year and a half to 2 years it had been going on for?
Yeah. Yep. And I like just bouncing from doctor to doctor when someone would say like, no, this isn't it. Maybe it's that. And
Yeah.
yep.
So that is that mainly what you had tried? Then it sounds like you'd like your gym stuff that you'd always been regimented on and then going to the doctor to try to get answers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was definitely falling back on kind of my what's worked before. Obviously I had two kids, obviously spent some time losing weight after those two kids. So I, went back to my macros like I had in the past and that had been successful in the past. And also, the same thing that we talked about a lot is just started pulling the triggers of reducing things that I needed, like sleep, in order to try to make up for where I was having shortcoming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I loved what you said before we hopped on. You were like, in order to accommodate trying to work out, which is what we're kind of thinking is the answer to lose weight. If, I know you didn't mention that, but had you been noticing that you were trying to lose weight as well in these symptoms that you were having?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
So in order for us to try to lose weight, we're like, okay, well, I need to work out, which is logical. It's kind of what we're taught out in the world. But then in order to make time to work out in a busy schedule with two careers and two kids, it's like, where do we cut that? Well, we cut our sleep
Yep, every time.
every time, which we are no longer doing. This is
No,
what we're
they're
trying to
not.
say that. That's good.
Yeah.
And so when we started working together, was there anything that I suggested that like surprised you or felt like it worked against the advice that you were used to hearing or that you were not comfortable with?
So I think there were a lot of things, right? Like I was in a position where I was so miserable that I was willing to try whatever you told me to do. But at the same time, I went in a little bit like, she wants me to cut all gluten. Yeah, right. I eat pizza like 3 times a week. Good luck with that. Or she's talking about this gut health stuff. And I just don't really know if I believe in this stuff. But again, I'm in a rough spot. So we're going to give it a go. So some of that, because, when you think about losing weight or maintaining weight from a macros perspective, you can really eat whatever it is that you want as long as it fits in with the calories and the carbs and fat
Right.
and the protein. And so I had never been in a place where I had maybe restricted some things or thought about food in a way that like it could be potentially harmful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. I think that speaks a lot to like this whole concept of calories in versus calories out, which works when we're young because our body has all this energy reserve. But as we kind of reach this point of we're already juggling so many balls and we don't have any extra like energy reserve, that's when I think we really start to recognize that shift to like energy supply and demand in my food over calories in, calories out
Yes.
in there.
Yep.
And that's what you're talking to there. It was like it's not like you were overeating because you were measuring those macronutrients, but it was like what was in those, pockets. And this is where I think it's so hard for a lot of women because often, and I think you were one of these women, like you're definitely and you're not overeating, you're not eating too many calories, like and some women are under eating, right? Where
Right.
it's and so and yet here we are gaining, feeling worse, gaining. It's like the complete opposite of what we think to be true.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And you're just like, I'm literally doing all of the same things. I could pull out the same meal plan from like, the last time I needed to lose weight with my second daughter. And it's like, I'm eating these exact same things. And it's, yeah, just, and then, kind of like in life, I always, for a while, like post kids had this just kind of like weight that I was pretty steady at. Right. So if I was just happy to like not be restricting what I was eating, but just eating at maintenance and just doing my standard workouts and not trying anything new or different, just kind of happy with like life is okay here. That number like ran away. Like it was non-existent anymore. And it was just like, okay, that something's wrong. Something's not right here.
I love that you say that because I think that is, when we're so busy, it is easy for us to look the other way. But you're right. When we know where our baseline was, like, well, if I just eat this way and I work out this way, then it's fine. Like I'm status quo here. But when that starts changing, I feel like that is a key red flag that something is off in the body.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it sounded like you figured you were like, okay, something's off in my body. And then you went to doctors and they were saying nothing is off in your body, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, my body was, saying it in a lot of ways, but obviously the one that I ignored for the longest time and probably took the longest time to catch back up from was the sleep. Right.
Mhm.
Like when I just got to the point where, normally I would get up before my alarm and get to the gym, and my trainer knew I was like religiously there with her almost every morning, and some of the other ladies that worked out together. And so when I started being like, nope, can't get up, nope, can't get up, we were like, that feels something's not good here.
Yeah, for sure. And it's even like, so we cut back naturally on it as well. And I'm just thinking about you, and this might not be true for you, but when we cut back on sleep, but if we're also hurting in our body, then we're not sleeping as well as we could be. Like you might be sleeping the same amount, but the quality of that sleep is interrupted by discomfort in the body. Do you feel like that was part of it for you?
For sure, yeah, and I was battling some other things too, like migraines and headaches, and those were causing, like, additional sleep interruptions or, just not getting good rest. So, yeah, there were a lot of that.
Yeah. So with you, our kind of like that initial focus, and I mean, obviously an initial focus with most of my clients is like we get into that nutrition. And so giving up certain foods was a challenge for you.
Yes. Yeah.
It was, but how did it change things?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I always thought going in that the food part was gonna be the hardest part, right? Because we hadn't yet talked about, like, the emotional part or the other parts of it. So I think at the beginning, I told you, I was like, "I'm gonna eat pizza once a week."
Mhm.
And then we got some of my results, and you're like, "I really don't think you should do that." Um, so pizza is no longer my favorite food, unfortunate or fortunately, I don't know which. But it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be. And also the rewards have been like, okay. And then also my body just whenever I look at, let's say if I have gluten by accident, my body's like, that is a problem. We should not do that. So just those kinds of things, like at first I was like, I just don't know if I can do this, but it's gotten much easier. Everyone now around me knows like I don't eat gluten. So they make sure there's something gluten-free on the menu, or, if I'm going to a party, we'll bring some veggies and fruit, things that I know that I can eat for sure. And then, figure out a way to get in some protein too. But yeah, it was an adjustment.
Yeah. It's funny, I like so many times I've heard other people and I've said it myself, like, oh, I never want to give this up. I love this thing. But I think the question starts to become, but does this thing love you back? Right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
love pizza, but pizza doesn't love you.
Yeah. I,
So,
I think the one thing that you told me that I try to remember is like, don't use food as joy. Like enjoy food when you're celebrating something, but don't use it as joy. Like if you had a rough week and the only thing that's going to make it better is like a glass of wine and a piece of pizza, like we got to adjust something here.
yeah, we've got to find other. Well, I always think of that as, I love that you brought that up. I always think of that as, and it's a toxic relationship because,
Yeah.
if that's the thing that gives you joy, but it also gives you pain, then we know it's not a healthy relationship. And if that relationship was with another person, then you'd probably have some family members saying something to you about it,
Right.
right? So it's interesting that it's so allowed and so normalized.
Mhm.
We have to see outside of ourselves, and that's difficult.
It is. Yeah.
It's a
It's
so
painful.
yeah, it's painful.
Hard. Yeah.
It's painful. And I love when you said, so like when it was your lab work though, that really kind of made it so evident, didn't it? That it was like, okay, gluten's not your friend.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think you were meeting me where I was, right? So we were like, okay, this isn't going to be perfect. I'm not there yet from a perfect perspective. Let me have a cheat meal. Kind of back to those macros where you would typically have like a cheat night or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the more I learn and the more you feel it in your body, you're like, yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah. I also remember you talking about chocolate as well. I think
Mhm.
I share
Yes.
that love with you, chocolate. You're like,
Yes.
every day I'm going to have chocolate. Like,
Yes.
okay, let's do it.
Yes. Yes. Um, I mean, I have backed off of it, but there's still the occasional like sweet tooth. But again, knowing like where's the right balance? Like, is it a perfect bar? Like, do I get a mini perfect bar? And is that like enough to make me feel good? There's some, like gluten-free, clean-ish chocolate chip cookies. Like, oh, I'll have like two of those. So there's whenever you need something or you feel like you want something, um, there's something I can have, but not to the extent where like before, again, because if it fit my macros, I could have it, I would
Yeah.
eat whatever I want.
Yeah, it's so interesting how you don't realize the things that are causing more discomfort than, and for you, is that gluten was really inflammatory to you. I mean, it's inflammatory to everyone, but for you
Right.
especially.
And it's in like almost everything chocolate related, right? Like cookies, all of those things. So
Or
you're
straight
like,
up chocolate.
you
Yeah.
can't have a Kit Kat. You can't have you can't have
Yeah.
any of these things.
Yeah, it's true. It's in everything, and it's very normalized and tasty. I mean, we can all just say that
Right.
that's just the truth.
Agreed.
Okay, I love that. That's really helpful. I think that for you, what I'm hearing is like, really looking at the food and then also seeing the lab results, finding that very motivating. And it didn't
Yep.
have to be perfect right up front.
Yep.
And so, obviously we worked together for quite some time. We did the labs, we worked on the nutrition, we worked on a lot of pieces. And you were so amazing. Like, it's hard to do the work, but you did the work. And I think that's always what makes it successful. But how are you feeling now? Like, how is your sleep? How are you feeling when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, feeling good. I woke up before my alarm this morning, which is always a good feeling. It feels like, okay, yeah, I'm getting rested.
Yes,
So that's good. Still have two littles in my bed a lot of nights. So,
that's great.
uh, well, taking all of that with a grain of salt. But yeah, definitely feeling good. I told you before we hopped on, just, one of the things I've noticed is just energy level and just playing more with my kids. I chased my daughter to daycare class on Friday, just, and I won. So
I love
just,
that.
she's 5, so
Crushed it.
but gotta teach her the competitive spirit. But just things like that before I would have been like dragging into daycare, and for whatever reason, I was just feeling good enough. We just ran.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see you. I can see your glowiness now and your brighter eyes and everything. But
Yes.
with the discomfort in your body, because the joint pain, that was a big one that we couldn't get physical answers to. So we knew it was functional. How was that feeling for you?
Yeah, much better. I mean, it was really bad before I came to you. I don't even know if we ever actually got fully into what it felt like, but I couldn't sit on the couch in the same position for like more than 5 or 10 minutes because I would like my legs would go numb and I couldn't get up. And I mean, it was really uncomfortable. And that was even with medication. So I was taking some kind of anti-inflammatory medications as well. So yeah, really, really just painful. Knees, elbows were really bad. Obviously that gets even worse when it's cold out and just not comfortable outside. But yeah, definitely uncomfortable was impacting my workouts. If I was getting there, I was still struggling because I was sore, uncomfortable, wasn't giving myself enough time to recover from those physical things and just making it worse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough one for a lot of us giving up workouts for a little while because along with that, like the macro aspect, so
Yes. Yep.
it's really taught to us is like, okay, well, here's go work out. You're going to feel better. And
Yes.
in theory, that is true. You should work out and feel better. So if you don't, we know there's a problem.
Right. Yep. And I think the big point that you made for me and like the real tipping point. Well, first of all, you said like it's okay. Right now, like you don't have to work out. And no one has ever said that, right? Like I needed someone external to say it because internally I would say every day, like you didn't work out and this is a problem.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing is you were like, listen, movement is a requirement, but it doesn't have to be you down there like in your basement trying to strength train
Yeah.
and just like overextending your body. Like go outside walking, listen to a podcast, whatever it may be, like find your other ways to get movement, but don't hold yourself up when you don't feel like going down there and working out.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I love that. I'm glad. And you took that really well. Like you got your walks in and we took that elongated break and you're back to working out now though. We talked about.
Yes. Yep. Back to working out 3 times a week, strength training for 30 minutes. So really just trying to ease my way in, nothing too crazy. But yeah, going really well. And it's a little bit less than ideal outside. So walks haven't been
Yeah.
amazing the past few weeks, but bought a treadmill. So trying to work on that as well. But yeah. And then I think I'll start doing some more yoga as well.
Yes, I love that. I think it's just like, especially when, I mean, movement's, as you say, it's a requirement for everyone, but especially for people, women like you and I who sit in front of a computer for a lot of the
Yes.
day. Like we have to consciously move the body. Otherwise it
Yes.
does start to degrade.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like the walk around my block is about 10 minutes and half a mile.
Oh,
So even if I can just pop out there around noon, just do 1 or 2 laps.
yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, that is a perfect loop. I like that. And so weight loss wise, like during the time we worked together, did you notice a change there?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was down 12 to 15-ish pounds.
Oh my gosh.
I know, so exciting. Like I told you earlier, though, I haven't hopped on the scale in a while because I'm really just more focused on like how do you feel versus what does that number say. So I think all of that weight is still off, and I can feel my body kind of rearranging and putting things in the right places. So I feel good about that. Eventually, maybe when it's not crazy busy time with work and other things, maybe this summer I'll focus a little bit more on tracking, how much I'm eating to make sure that that's in line. But yeah, overall, really good.
Good. I love that. That's amazing. That's so amazing. So overall, feeling good, feeling great. Do you think the nutrition piece was the needle, like the biggest needle that made everything move, like the biggest change, or was and the labs kind of supported that, or was there anything in particular that you feel like really made that difference for you?
I think two things. So I do think the nutrition was one, especially like with the food sensitivity. We haven't talked about that yet, but
Mhm.
some of the other things that we did where you just showed me that I was doing things that I thought were not a big deal, but were actually causing harm, right? And like you said, putting myself in health debt.
Yeah.
And so once I stopped doing that, once I stopped like, oh, I really love pineapple, but I'm sensitive to it. So like, I guess we'll just not have it, And then it's like, oh, that makes you feel better. Who knew that eating pineapple made me feel bad? Right. But
No.
apparently it did.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely the nutrition, but the other thing was more around the emotional work that I had to do, right? We spent a lot of time around like, what brings you joy? And are you finding enough of that? And just, I mean, even simple things like kind of in this process too, another byproduct of it was I stopped biting my nails. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
So now I like go get my nails done, like get a manicure every 3 weeks, just like even like little self-love things like that. You were just like, you made it comfortable for me to like take that time for myself. And that like my girls will be at gymnastics while I get my nails done, and they won't mind that I didn't see, them practice once 1 week out of the month or whatever it might be. So just giving myself like the power to go seek joy. I think it was as impactful as the food.
Yeah. And I know you're an amazing mom, but I'm sure they got a more relaxed mom, a more happy mom, a more comfortable mom in the process.
Right. And one that, like they can see me work out. So they go downstairs with me when I work out, and I can just really, you know, just show them what they should be doing instead of telling them, right? That was an important piece to me, is like, let me go back to being normal so they can see what normal should look like.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're honoring the process because, as we started this interview, I think we really highlighted how busy your life is. And I think that's very normal for a lot of the women listening right now. And we often want really fast results, but and I have no doubt that if I could scoop you up and take you away for like 6 weeks to Costa Rica, where we had no other responsibilities and nothing else to think about, we could have got results super fast. And for all
Right.
women listening, that's a very doable thing for most people, but that's not our life. We're not
Right.
on The Biggest Loser here. We're in life. We have all these things, and you're trying to make small changes every day amidst the demand that you already have. So, and you've done that, which is incredible.
Well, and you changed the goal line, right? Because before it was almost solely based on like how heavy can I lift and what number on the scale.
Mhm.
And once you told me like, hey, we're probably not going to lose weight for the first few weeks, and that's totally normal, but like, how do we feel? Like, it doesn't matter what the scale says, like, how do you feel in your body? Like, the reason you're here because you feel really terrible in your body. So like, let's focus there, right? Like, but again, before there, I never had that goal post. Like, that never was a measurement
Yeah.
of like my overall, like, how do you feel? I never asked myself that. I just kept going because the number wasn't right, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I think I love that you brought that up. Like, why do you think, because I know in myself, that was a big part of my challenge and I hear it time and time again with the women I work with. And I really think the shifting of our hormones makes us so irritated that we finally have to be open-minded to other options. But why do you think we go so long without actually listening to what our body is saying?
Because we're women and moms.
Yeah.
That's how we function. I mean, uh, it's still a struggle even today. Like, it's hard for us to prioritize and put ourselves first.
Yeah.
I'm always last. I was always just what was left over.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, to be fair to women, like I think culturally, this is what we are taught for sure. Like our culture really supports that. And so do our hormones. I mean, the reality is estrogen is designed every single month to pop on these rose-colored glasses to prioritize others above us so that we keep the circle of life going
Right.
in the
Yes.
world. So I hope we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves, that that's just how we've been taught. But it really is this time in our life to be like, okay, the body's a little bit like, well, estrogen's not around the same way it used to be anymore. So we're going to do it my way.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then like you add on my type A personality. And so that was a struggle, right? Like the whole point of like not going to gymnastics, like I don't have to go to every single practice and they'll still feel supported, but like my type A me was like, well, then how will I know what they're working on and what, it's just like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And for some people, it's like, well, I'm a bad mom. Like, and who am I if I'm not a good mom? Like it's years deep for a lot of us.
Right. It is.
Amazing, Mallory. I'm so glad you're feeling so great. And I've just really enjoyed working with you. Is there anything like, if you could think of, like, what do you think women who are all listening right now, 38 to 48 to 58 that are going through this hormonal shift really need to know? If you could share kind of one key thing.
Okay. One key thing.
Or a couple.
I mean, I think there's two things, right? The first one is taking care of yourself and like taking the time to slow down and listen to what your body's telling you. I think a lot of this stuff you can figure out on your own if you just stop to think about it. Like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to get 8 hours of sleep every night. And that's what my body says. And I need to listen to this. But then I think the other thing too is like, just consider the no gluten, no sugar, no alcohol, attempt it for a few months. Again, it feels restrictive and hard at first, but if that's all you have to do to make you feel that much better, like feels pretty easy then.
Absolutely. I think you're right. It's when you look at it that way. And if you need motivation, get your labs done because they'll tell you really quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
Won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't
It
be
will.
eating this. This is what's actually causing all my pain, even a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's great advice. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your story, for being here today. And I'm just so grateful that we connected.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so grateful for your help.
Yeah, thank you. All right, sisters. Well, you have heard from Mallory. You've heard her journey. You've heard what worked really well from her, and hopefully some hope and motivation on how to take the time for you again. So take this information, go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Period Whisperer podcast. If you liked this episode, take 30 seconds right now to write a review on iTunes and then reach out to me directly on Instagram at Bria_period_whisperer and message me there with a screenshot of your review. As a thank you, I will give you a customized free hormone audit to get you on your way to the best health of your life in midlife.